the first time I ever heard of Richard and Marion was when my cousin Andre came back from vacation. And he told me that he met a radiologist on a plane flying back from, I think, Mexico. I think they sat near Marion and Richard, and I think Donna, my cousin's wife, and Marion got into a conversation, and then it sort of expanded, and they had a lovely chat on the flight about this radiologist in Chester, and it's a lovely group. And so I heard about this maybe in November, and I had a rotation at Crozier when I was a senior resident at HUP. I spent, I believe, January and February of my senior year. And one day we're sitting down and we're chatting. Richard, I was doing ultrasound and reading out cases with Richard, and somehow we made the connection that Richard actually met Andre and Donna on this flight, and then I said, oh, yeah, okay, and so here we are. And when I was a resident, my ambition was to get a job with Southeast because of Richard, because of John Bonavita, because of Jim and Joe and all the other guys that were. I was in awe because as a HUP resident, you know, at HUP, those of you that trained at HUP know that there's this attitude at the Mecca that all the guys outside of HUP are idiots and don't know what they're talking about. And to be at Crozier at that time and see that the attendings are just as bright and just as well read as the HUP attendings, that really inspired me to want to join Southeast. And so I consider myself very fortunate that that came to pass, and I got to learn at his knee and develop as a radiologist and follow his example, striving for excellence and striving for good patient care, and at the same time having the benefit of being able to spend time with family. So thank you. It's marvelous to have been able to spend my career and to see you leave, and then, you know, I'm not far behind.
Thank you. And my friend.
Just to speak very briefly, kind of from one of the kids' perspective, I think it's amazing for me as a daughter to sit up here and look at all of these accomplishments that my father has had over his career. And I think you said it best, he does it in a very quiet way in the background, doesn't take a lot of responsibility or praise, but does a lot, and that's a lot that I've learned from him and trying to orchestrate my life. Well, one of the things that as a father, when I look at all of these things and these hardworking, you know, ACR and all the committees that he was on, I can tell you that as a child, one of the most amazing things that I have, the memories, is that my dad would leave work at 5 o'clock, and I went to Friend Central up on City Line Avenue, and he would drive all the way there, and even if he caught the last 2 games of my tennis match, he was there. And if he got to the last 20 minutes of my voice lesson, he was there because he wanted to be. So as much as he accomplished for radiology, he accomplished just as much as a parent. And that's something I think that he should be extraordinarily proud about. So.
All right, last little token here.
I'll say something
Oh, okay.
before it's not up. Does someone else want to hold this?
Let's do a selfie.
I'm not going to be in too much of this. I want to echo what my sister says, and thank all of you. And my dad has been a more than incredible provider, which, you know, is from those of us who are not married to people in the group. You know, we see him more as that than anything else. And, you know, he drove me to school, was there for tennis, and, you know, you take it for granted when you really shouldn't necessarily, given how challenging the field is. By the way, this is all off the cuff. And I have to add one thing about the field of radiology. It's, you know, not something I delved into really much, but the irony for me was, you know, when my dad retired in June last year, I got to become personally familiar with radiology because I've had some allergy issues the last few years, and I was having a bronchial infection, and I got less than 3 weeks after my dad retired to appreciate, you know, great radiologists from another level, because I got to get my own very own CAT scan, and or was it an MRI? And not only that, after that, the bill came. And so even today, you know, my dad's expertise with, you know, how to deal with radiology groups, CPT codes and all that stuff I never gave thought to while my dad was not retired, is coming in very handy for me. And by the way, Julia's dad's helped me a lot with the allergies things, but that's another thing. We can save that for his retirement someday. So that's it. Just want to express my love for my father, and also want to thank, I have kind of a quirky sense of humor, so I used my birthday in Daytona Beach area last year to do a surprise. I thanked my mother because mothers, the women here can relate, birthdays should really be about the mothers rather than the person who merely was born. And I threw a little surprise for my dad, and so I want to thank Dr. Houston, Dr. Stock, Dr. Rothenberg, and I guess also Tracy Palmer Cowan for the little speeches they wrote, which caught my dad totally off guard. But it's been nice knowing a lot of you through the years, and just want to thank and congratulate my dad once more.
Hey, Kurt, am I bad at cleanup here?
You got a few extra minutes to prepare.
So I asked my dad what he's going to be doing next, and I guess this is because you're of the silent generation. My dad has not been overly forthcoming, except to say that he is going to be now on the board of the Hedgerow Theater, our local theater, which brings me to Diane's comments. I don't know if you caught that, but she was referring to my dad's last experience in theater. I think it was a 1992 production of Ohev Shalom by my great camera roll, and to hear that he was selling tickets, and having seen that, I hope you gave everybody their money back. So it is only looking up from here when we're talking about my dad's second career now in theater, given what we got to see in 1992 in Ohev Shalom's Bye Bye Birdie. But in terms of this, and of course, as Adam said before, you've been an incredible provider. You've given us so many opportunities. And we are so grateful. I also think, as I think about my boys, and things are happening so quickly, but you know, should they have careers in the ways that has been the case for us, and certainly for you, I hope that they look to you as a role model. In all of the years, and there have been many years, I've never heard my dad once complain about work. He's told me, and I may not always follow your advice, but I hear your advice. And I always thought it was wonderful that he would say he would do this job for free. And in the photo with Obama, I think he said, "Thank you, Obama. I am doing this job for free." That's what he said. But that always stuck with me, and that's not easy to achieve in any field, and to be able to do that. And first of all, that is also, it's a credit to my dad and his skills and his internal compass, but that also is a credit to you, your team, the partners who were in the video and the others were not. And it makes me so happy to see my dad happy, and to think that at work he was the king, because when you come home in the Taxon kingdom, there's only room for a queen. But no, you've been a great role model, and certainly for and for my boys especially, and it means so much. I love you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Rich. What Brett was also saying about the theater was keep your day job.
Well, speaking of
In
theater,
all seriousness,
Wait, speaking
Guys
of
and
theater-
Dolls
Dolls, he was
is having
terrific.
auditions next week, no lie, at Swarthmore Players Club. So there you
I
go.
can get the party in.
and as a small token, this wasn't planned either, but we have a gift certificate for, what is it? It's our Kimmel Center, so you can actually go see some shows.
Oh, great.
Hopefully a few.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Kurt.
Rich.
Thank you for putting on this show. And thank you for being here.
An honor.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Enjoy.
I think Eric wanted to say one thing.
Oh, did Eric want to say one thing? It is back there. Eric? Hold it, hold it.
So, now you know why I can't really always stand in the corner and have to talk loud. But, and many of you know that I've come at this at a bit of a different angle I have a bit of a different relationship to Rich than most of you here. Some of you may know that or may not know that. But what I will say is, I knew Rich before I even went to medical school. I met Amy, and Amy and I met in 1992, and I thought I was going to be a doctor. I had no idea, but what was interesting is that when I was in medical school and applying for residency, I actually applied for two different types of residency. I applied for oncology and I applied for radiology. And it was Rich, and seeing what Rich did and what he was doing at the time, that really made me see that this was really going to be the field that was going to be right for me. Not because somehow he always was able to get to everything that Amy did, and it seemed like life was quite easy, as many of you know. We just sit around and do nothing all the time. But I have spent my so far short career really trying to emulate what Rich does and learn from him, and to have him serve as a mentor, because I really do know that he knows what he's doing, and I very much respect it, and only hope that I can get to accomplish a little bit of what he's been able to do in his career.
Thank you all.
So nice.